Happy Easter, everyone. Blessings be upon you. He is risen. The Lord our God, Jesus Christ, was crucified by the. Well, it was complicated. I don't want to get into. We don't have to get into all that. The details of who carried out the crucifixion are irrelevant. What's important is the sacrifice that was made by God's only Son, Jesus Christ. He died for our sins, which, to be honest with you, when I was growing up in church, I never really understood what that means, and even now, I still don't really understand what that's supposed to mean. But I was told that needed to happen so that I could go to heaven. Um, and so now because I was baptized, I get to go to heaven. I was baptized in uh the water. I was baptized in it was like I guess like a hot tub that they had in the front corner of my church next to the stage. It looked like a hot tub that wasn't a hot tub that they would fill with the baptismal water when the pastor would do baptisms. And I was baptized in that water, and symbolically, what is I guess it's supposed to be symbolic of like a fire or something. When you get baptized, it's like a fire that burns the sins off of your flesh. I think is what they say in scripture. But I was baptized so that is to solidify my accepting of Jesus Christ as our, not just mine, all of ours, Lord and Savior. And yeah, this is kind of what it was. It was a hot tub baptism machine. Thank you. And so, being baptized, that means I accept Christ. And so that doesn't mean that doesn't. I have a what is this doing? Does anybody have a printer? Like I actually have a printer, and it doesn't function as a printer. It's just like a big plastic box that sits over here and blinks. There's a light that blinks. It's blinking now, and I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know how to turn it off. But it doesn't actually print anything. If I try to print something, there's no printer to send the link to send the page to. It doesn't, that doesn't work, and then it just doesn't actually print anything. It just blinks and distracts me because they don't plug up to the computer anymore. The printers, they make these printers now, which are like cheap, all things considered. It's like $120 for a printer. And then the ink is where they get you. You got to keep replacing the ink if you can ever get anything to print. But it doesn't plug into the computer. So, where back in the past, it would be that you buy a printer and there's a cable that plugs into one end of the printer, and then the other end, or no, yes, there's one end of the cable. How do you turn this off? This blinking is distracting me. There's no off button. Maybe I could just unplug. So that is very distracting, or whatever. Sorry. So it used to be that you plug one end of the cable into the back of the printer, and then the other end of the cable would plug into the back of your computer. And now the printer and the computer have a physical connection with each other. And so anytime you want to print something, you just click print, and then it prints off off the printer. The printer goes wee woo, check, 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 check. And then you're done. Your strategy guide from Game Facts for Final Fantasy X has been printed, all 68 pages, and your mom is mad because you used all of the printer ink to do that. But it printed, and now all the printers just connect via Wi-Fi to your like local network, and so now there's like this intermediary, so that the computer is connected to the Wi-Fi, and the printer is connected to the Wi-Fi, and now they have to communicate with each other inside of this, this big consortium, this esplanade for electronic devices that is the Wi-Fi, and then it doesn't, but it doesn't work. Like they don't. There's like a language barrier between the printer and the computer, and then nothing prints. And now it's just distracting me that for whatever reason, this printer right now is just blink. There's just this light blinking that's distracting me. And so the printers don't work anymore. Maybe it's the folks. Maybe this is the conspiracy from the folks at Big Kinko's, that they don't want you to be able to print anything. They don't want you to be able to print anything at home anymore. The Kinko's conspired with Hewlett Packard to render all home printers useless. And so now, when you need to print anything, you just say, you know what, forget it. We don't even worry about the printer. We'll just pay $1 at Kinko's to print this, and I'll buy a book of stamps while I'm there, or whatever they sell at Kinko's, some packaging tape, a greeting card. That's how they get you. You go in there for one thing. Any store you go to, you go in there for one thing, and then you get distracted by all the other stuff they got strategically laid out, so that so that you're always being upsold. Remember that. With anywhere you go, any number you call, any website you go to, dude, you're being upsold on anything, like everywhere. I know that. Working retail and sales all the years I've done it. That's the whole business model. You think you're going to Costco just for a rotisserie chicken? It costs $5. They sell that at a loss, and it's all the way in the back of the Costco, the rotisserie chicken, and it's called a loss leader. They're willing to take the hit on the rotisserie chicken, because by the time you walked all the way to the back of the Costco, you've seen so many other things you want to buy. You went in there for $5 of rotisserie chicken. You're walking out with $500 of pot stickers and bagel bites and imitation crab and Jif peanut butter and Coke Zeros and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade cabinet. and so that's that they make you think that you're going to get away with just that $5 rotisserie, but no, you're not. It's only the strongest of wills, the most fortress of hearts, that can withstand the siren song of pre-made, pre-packaged guacamole in a 2-pack at Costco. $5 from Dan Mullen. Hit the super chats, everybody. I have got to unplug this printer. This is driving me nuts. This thing just keeps blinking. Hold on. Which one's the power cord? There. Problem solved. Thank you. $5 from Dan Mullen. What did you have for Easter dinner? I had I went to a fast food place and I had a bacon cheeseburger and a spicy chicken sandwich and a large order of fries. That's what I had. I had for Easter. That's all I've eaten today because I gotta be health conscious. So it's all about just overall caloric intake. So I figure if I stick with just one spicy chicken sandwich, one bacon cheeseburger, and one large order of fries, and for the whole day, then I'm fine. Don't tell me that I didn't need the second sandwich. I needed the second sandwich because I had a hankering for a cheeseburger, and then I saw the spicy chicken sandwich, and I said, "Damn, I also want that." And then I remembered that I do have at least enough money in my bank account for both of those things, and I said, "Well, I'm not a child, so it doesn't have to be one or the other. I'm allowed to order both of these." And I did, and I also got large fries. And this might clue you into which fast food place I went. I also got a few containers of spicy ketchup, and so it was a lovely Easter dinner. And I spent it pretty much mostly alone. I had to work all day. Um, would I consider smashing the printer on stream? $5 from Robbie's third cousin. No, no. I was raised not to disrespect technology that way. To not do violence upon technology. Better to just end the suffering and unplug it, but do not do violence onto the the works of Hewlett Packard. I think it is it's a Hewlett Packard. So, by the way, Sal's not here. I didn't even like try and figure out to do the podcast with him today because it is Easter Sunday, and so he's trying to just like salvage a marriage that's falling apart and keep it together already. And so I don't want to pull him away from his family on Easter Sunday. So hopefully he's with his family, his wife and children, and they're at least spackling the walls of a deteriorating marriage, and keeping it together for the kids. So it's just me solo. And we're not going to go too long here because it is Easter, and I want everybody to be able to get back to. It's also 420. I do know that Token Tony reached out to me, friend of the show, does a lot of good work for us here at the network, makes a lot of good art. He reached out and said he wanted to hop on the stream. I don't think he's gonna like just stay on the screen the whole time, but he'll be hanging out in the studio. And he said he's not here yet, but he said he wanted to because it is Easter 420. I guess he has like a dab rig, and he wants to do dabs if people are willing to pay for him to do dabs. I don't know how people do that. I do know how you give me super chats. That's easy. It's very easy for you to do, and you should do it. I don't know how people do dabs because I did one time, and then I was in a psych ward for like 2 years. That was in Houston at Skankfest South. I hit one dab the last night, and then I went and I genuinely like started panicking and had like an existential crisis, and like started folding in on myself like a black hole, and then I just had to like go back to my hotel and lay down, and then the next like rest of my life has been hell. So I don't understand it, but I guess there's some people who can handle their substances better than I can. I don't get it. I don't understand the dabs. It's not. It would be nice. Like I can't do anything anymore. I've talked about that at length. I just do like the heaviest thing I do is Coke Zeros, sometimes Cherry Coke Zero, and then I got my nicotine vapes. Um, and and then I have my sodas, but I mean, I'm not allowed to do none of that no more. But I do remember thinking, like, I remember thinking, like, when I was like into that kind of thing. Oh, nice, $10 from Dan Mullen. It's funny how the little things in life that mean the most, not where you live, what you drive, or the price tag on your clothes. There's no dollar sign on a piece of mind. This I've come to know. Is that is that lyrics to something, or did you just come up with that? That's pretty profound. Thank you for that. Um, where my? Oh, here it is. The Geek Bar, dude. These are awesome, dude. The Geek Bar Pulse X. Now I can't, I won't touch anything that's not iced. They got all the different flavors, but the ones that are not mentholated in some way are to me I don't know, not pleasant or too harsh, I guess. But then the ones that have a little bit of that ice touch to them are really nice. And one of my go-tos usually is the banana taffy freeze, but then I found this one, lemon heads, which has a bit of that the frosty mug vape to it. This one's pretty good. You got to get a rotation going. You hit the same flavor too much, and it starts to lose its efficacy. It stops tasting like anything. So that's why I got to make sure I rotate flavors, but there's so few iced variants. I did see one. I saw one the other day. I want to try. I didn't get it because I was already sipping on a soda, but it's like cola slush. So it's like a cola and iced cola flavor that I want to try. But I got this one instead. So these are cool. And that's one of the things. I don't go to any program. Miss me with that. Miss me with the programs because they seem like, well, I don't know. I don't know if not necessarily a scam, because I guess they don't have you like require you to pay dues or a subscription fee, but it definitely feels very I don't know, almost cult like, and also like so obsessed with whatever it was that ruined your life that it cannot. I just remember I went to an AA meeting one time and everybody was talking so much about drinking that I was like, yeah, drinking sounds awesome. Like, let's stop talking about it and do it. And I just never went back. And then just when it came down to actually like, where I was like, oh, I have to, I got to clean up my life. It was actually relatively simple and easy. And I didn't have to go to apologize to anybody if I didn't want to. I didn't have to like do anything except like just exist, just be cool, be chill, and not drink or do drugs. And that was actually like, okay, well, yeah, I could just like sit in a room and not do those things. I can go lay in bed and not do them. I could go for a walk and not do drugs. I could watch cartoons and not, this is actually pretty cool. I don't have to do any of that stuff from those programs that looks like a lot of work that makes quitting drinking seem difficult. So I'm not in any sort of program, but one of the things they do in these like drug abstinence programs or alcohol, like AA or NA. And all right, this is good. This is funny, but please don't be mean to me. But this is very funny. Raphael says Dalton's so fat he doesn't even want to take the 12 steps of AA. Very nice. That's very good. I do appreciate a bit of ribaldry. That's very funny. And you know what? That is true. I am very out of shape. I did, you know what? Earlier this week, I walked 2 miles. I went outside and I walked a couple miles, and my back gave out. And so I have let myself go, and physically, I'm not doing too well. but I feel like I'm nowhere close to the furthest reaches of how out of shape one can get. And I haven't even been fat long enough that that the clock is tick. Like I have so much time to fix this. I judge fatness based on something I call the Supplee scale, which was how fat did Ethan Supplee get, and how long was he fat before he fixed it. And I don't think he was. It was till he was in his like 40s that he turned that around. So I got plenty of time, and I'm nowhere close to him at his biggest. Which, like, if you watch Remember the Titans, I mean, he was like the size of like he had to at least have a probably a queen size bed just to be able to like the sheer size of Supplee would not fit on a twin or full size mattress. Which is, an inspiring fellow there. First off, he is a legitimately good character actor. He's a real guy. Let's not even concern ourselves with the Scientology. But he is an actor. I'm always happy to see. He's the best part of the Butterfly Effect, the Ashton Kutcher movie. And he like conveyed so much emotion and acting ability through his fat. Like, in spite of being one of the larger actors on screen, he took up most of the lens. They had to, back when they shot on film, they had to use the bigger size film. They had to shoot everything in IMAX that had Supplee in it. And then even when they switched to digital, they had to get bigger hard drives for a movie that had Supplee in it. He's, in spite of how big he was, he still was always turning out great performances. So I was always happy to see him in things, and then he got in shape and got very muscular, and he doesn't show up in movies or TV shows anymore. So we lost Supplee as an actor, but I guess we get to feel now. I guess we get the comfort of knowing he'll be alive longer. But was he was in something? Oh yeah, that movie I'm never gonna watch. That Stavros Halkias made. I'll never watch that, but I did see a trailer and he's in the movie. So that's the extent to which Supplee is getting cast in movies. Is a fan of Ethan Supplee reached out to him because he saw him on My Name Is Earl and American History X, I guess. But I suppose there's no real casting director that is reaching out to Supplee now that he's in shape. And I am wearing the same shirt that I wore yesterday. Sorry for that. I I live a life that doesn't really require me to change clothes. So whoops. You got you got me on that one. Oh, happy WrestleMania, by the way. It's Easter, it's 420. A lot of things happening today. It's Easter, it's 420. It's WrestleMania. And let's get some super chats going. And I was never a wrestling guy. I've watched it here and there, but it was never my bag, baby. Did I shower? No. Dude, I live my life as it is now. I could just not go like ever go anywhere if I wanted to and still survive. Like everything is like I'm living in the future where it's just like I can get everything accomplished from home, just like because of the internet. So it's like I could do all the work I need to do and just like never see the sun again, which is like a lot of days for me is like that. And so it's like, that being the case, it's also like not a necessity for me to shower with any regularity. Until the science gets there that you'll be able to smell me through the computer. It doesn't affect anything I do professionally, if you want to call any of this professional. But yeah, I don't know how bad I smell because there's like nobody around to perceive the smell. So it's like I don't know. That's the old thought experiment, the old thinker. If a tree falls in a forest, and if I don't bathe for a week, do I still stink? That's up for debate. Stank is only stank when there are those that to smell it. You know what I mean? And that's reality. That's philosophy right there. They teach you that. That's what you pay $12,000 a semester for in college. $5 from Robbie's third cousin. He misspelled it like any wrestling fan would. WrestleMania brought the Goodyear blimp to town. And photos and video is that Jelly Roll? And photos and videos don't do it justice of how big it looks in the sky. But yeah, blimps are cool. I've talked about blimps at length on the Patreon on one of the episodes, so go subscribe to Patreon, patreon.com/cornfed with Dalton Pruitt. But blimps are awesome. I grew up watching Batman, the animated series, and so blimps were a very important part of my childhood because of that cartoon. I believed in the power of blimps and the capabilities of them as not only a form of travel but also surveillance for the city of Gotham. Even though we don't have blimps. I don't know where they came up with that for the show. It was a cool touch. It was a cool addition to the show that they're just like, for whatever reason, blimps. I don't think that was in any of the comic books, and we don't have blimps really for any other reason than the Goodyear blimp in real life. And yet, you know, you watch that show as a kid, and it just like made sense. Everything clicked. It's like, yeah, of course, there's police blimps patrolling the city of Gotham. That's like part of the GCPD budget is that they have a blimp budget. um. Oh, this is very true. I am blimp shaped. So, yeah, we should be a blimp based society. I thought I'm spoiling the Patreon. Go subscribe to the Patreon to hear me talk about this, but yeah, I think it's the same as like how Chernobyl and the atom bomb and 3 Mile Island, like a few isolated incidents that were due to either war or negligence, kind of scared everybody away from the capabilities and possibilities of nuclear energy, like the world we can live in now, where we just have infinite, cheap, clean energy, is not available to us because of like a few moments that in time that just got everybody scared from nuclear energy. And so yeah, with blimps, it was like there was one blimp that exploded due to not doing blimps the right way. Because I think the hit. What are you supposed to fill a blimp with? Is it the same as like a birthday balloon? Is it helium? There's like a certain mixture of gases that are supposed to be in a blimp that you use to make a blimp float. But with the Hindenburg, they did not have access. They, for whatever reason, I can't remember. I don't know history. I don't know anything. Um, but they didn't have like whatever mixture of gases they needed to pilot the Hindenburg, and so they just used like pure hydrogen for that flight, and pure hydrogen is like extremely incendiary and flammable. It's a very dangerous substance. And so like whenever just the slightest little thing went wrong, the whole blimp, the whole Zeppelin, the Hindenburg exploded in hellfire. We got some cool pictures from it. Those pictures I remember in my high school history books. Those look cool, but it also everyone died. Which I mean, they Germans at the time, so it's like what are we even complaining? Like, what are we sad about? Were we mourning the loss of? When was the Hindenburg was like a Nazi experiment? It was like one of their many experiments, right? Or I guess they were Germans in the past, which is always bad. So they all died, but because of like the sensationalism of that catastrophe, everybody was like, well, I guess now we can only use blimps to advertise tires, actual tires, not the show on Netflix. Just like actual, not even good tires. Goodyear tires. I think are like a well known brand. It's like a big brand of tire, but I think real tire knowers would get like Pirellis. Is maybe a better quality tire. I don't know. I don't have a car. I don't like driving, man. I do not enjoy. I guess when I get out on like a nice stretch of open road, like the highway, like somewhere where I can really just cruise, that's nice. But like regular driving, like in a city or like a neighborhood where there's like a lot of turns and lights and traffic and all that, is just such a miserable experience. I don't enjoy it, and I'm cool with a bus or a train, and the only driving I enjoy is like hours on the like just the hours and hours on the highway when I could just open up the car, um, just and cruise, listen to some music, take some Stacker 2 pills from the Flying J, and just really enjoy myself. But it's not often that you get to do that kind of driving. Most driving is just like city, in the town driving, and that's just like such a nuisance. It's not enjoyable, and you're paying so much money to do it. You got a monthly car payment, gasoline or diesel, maybe electric if that's your thing. Um, and then you got tolls if you gotta take a toll. It's like you're paying tons of money to do something that sucks and is extremely dangerous. And if you don't have the right tires, you could have a serious problem on your hands there. So that's why it is important. That's why we have the blimp, is to remind you to maintain your tires, even if they are a shitty brand. At least make sure the treads are good and get them rotated and like whatever you're supposed to do. I don't know cars, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything. The inner workings of pretty much anything are a mystery to me. And maybe I don't think it's like too difficult to learn any of this stuff because I've met some pretty like not bright people who are very good at cars. And, and so I feel like if I really like put my mind to it, I could get good at cars. But then also it's not particularly rewarding because like all the mechanics I've met, like and it's like that's a good honest job. It also don't pay for shit. So it's like, what's the benefit of like being good at cars? I guess if I need to do any of my own maintenance or like if something goes wrong on the road and I got to fix something, it could come in handy. But as far as like any material benefit to my life, I don't see much because even then, I could just like if it breaks down, I got a cell phone. I call AAA, and then I just pay more money to fix this thing that I hate. And I don't mind. Look, I don't mind the bus. Everybody bemoans the bus like, oh, it's poor people on there, it's homeless, everybody smells bad, like whatever. It's it's humanity. It's all walks of life, and it's being amongst your fellow man and being a part of this world, and being an active participant in this life. And sometimes that means sharing a space with the homeless, with immigrants, with screaming children, and people that smell bad. All of it. Would you consider getting a tank of helium and doing a whole show with helium voice? $5 from Robbie's third cousin. Thank you. No, I would not do that. I'll tell you that first off, that sounds like a bad idea. Secondly, when I was a kid, like 11, 12, I was young. One time I wanted to do that. I wanted to have fun with helium, and I had one of them like foil balloons that you get at the grocery store that they got in a cage on the ceiling, where you pull one down and you buy it there at the register with your produce. And I remember like those balloons are like cinched on the flap where you fill them up with helium, right? So you have to like to be able to suck the helium out. I remember I like put a straw through that flap, and so I could break the seal, and then I sucked all the helium out. And it turns out if you inhale too much helium, you'll just pass out. Like you'll like completely like black, like just go black for like a few minutes. Because I woke up on the floor with just like a pounding headache, and then I had to have my mommy take me to the doctor because I think I got a concussion because I like passed out and just fell back and banged my head on the floor. So I would not do a helium full heat. I would love to perform live at that comedy club I heard about, the helium, but I would not do a whole show where I'm inhaling helium because I feel like that would probably cause like some kind of neurological damage, or at the least I would just pass out. $5 from Dan Mullins. Some jobs that feel tedious even while doing them, you feel satisfying when it's done and you did the job well. I know that feeling. I know that feeling for sure. But then I'm always reminded, oh, they ain't pay me shit for this, and then I feel bad again. And I deal with that every single day now. Still, when I have a good day doing sales, I'm like, wow, I'm good at this job, and I'm really contributing a lot of value to this company. And then I do the math on what I'm actually making hourly, even with commission. I get depressed again. Okay, so yeah, Token Tony's here, and so if anybody wants to see him do some Easter dabs, go ahead and hit the 10, 15, $20 super chats, and we'll bring him up to do some dabs. Tony, did you want to hang out here, or did you just want to hang out backstage? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
There we go.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, for sure. My mic wasn't plugged in right. I'm down either way, Dalton. I can hang out, or you can just bring me up whenever. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, yeah, you just hang out. Sal's not here, so you can fill out the screen. But yeah, you can just hang out, and if you want to chime in, go ahead and chime in. But
For sure.
let's hit the super chats, and we'll do some Easter dabs. I can't do drugs, so Tony will do some drugs.
I'm like his weed shield. Like,
yeah, yep. I might go to. I mean, if I ever go back to a Skankfest, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of drugs. So I'll have to figure out how to be the fun anywhere I go in life. Now I got to be the figure out. Well, actually, I don't have a problem having fun sober now. I can do that. I'll go. I have to do everything sober, and it's just like, you know what? It's all in the past. Sometimes I miss feeling something, but oh, okay, here we go. Well, hey, here we go. Hit a dab. Tony, go ahead and hit a dab.
for sure. I got you, Dalton. Here we go.
Here we go. We're gonna hit a dab, and then we got a song request as well. Twilight by the Electric Light Orchestra. I believe that's what ELO means. Or maybe
Yeah,
that
I think that's
means
right.
yeah. Or
There's so many old like bands like Jefferson Starship, and like they have like weird names like Electric Light Orchestra, and
yeah, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer.
they just
Dude,
they
I
just started
recently
naming bands after like areas like after like Boston and
yeah,
Kansas.
Pittsburgh,
So they just
Pensacola, Mobile. Dude, I recently did a I was for some reason I was curious about the Trans Siberian Orchestra. I was like, what's their deal? And so I just was like reading the Wikipedia page for that band. And it turns out that like the vision for the band from the beginning was to do Christmas music. That wasn't like anything they stumbled into or figured out was like a thing that people would pay money for. That the whoever the guy is that started that group had a vision for like we're gonna do a 3-part Christmas rock opera.
yeah,
And
well,
then
the
they
Christmas is where the money's at. Mariah Carey's been eating off Christmas for like 25, 30 years now. Like,
that's very true, yeah.
I think that,
He followed the money. He was like, if we get
yeah, that's
really
where the
good
money's
at
at.
let's get really good at our instruments and then do Christmas music for forever. And
I know
we'll
there's that
make
like
it.
a cappella group that just basically does Christmas music, and they're like millionaires.
Yeah, yeah, but I think like the two of the guys from Trans Siberian Orchestra are dead now, so I mean they're done. I think, but
I think it's a
yeah,
lot
that
easier
just
to replace like faceless members than it is to like So
yeah, I guess so. But yeah, they struck me so odd that like that guy had like a spark of inspiration where he was like, we're gonna do Christmas music, and not just Christmas music, arena rock Christmas. Because
they
they
had to make it as big
apparently,
as possible.
yeah, apparently they didn't grind it out and get to that level. They just like went from they were like, okay, we're a band now, and then they were playing arenas. They were
Yeah.
like the first. They were like the only band that just like skipped rock clubs and bars and theaters. And we're like, we're just doing arenas. They were the first, arena act.
In the arena of Christmas ideas.
Yeah, and that really is what their music is. It's just like, what if Christmas were an idea? It's like a whole, it's like a prog concept thing. So it's like a whole story that who knows? Like I don't care.
Yeah, I've never actually listened to it. I know of them, but I've never actually listened to any of their music. I might have like heard it like at Christmas time, and I
They
just don't
got
know.
some
But
stuff that's not Christmas music, but like a full album from them, like their Christmas stuff but anything they do is all like that kind of like concept album stuff where it's like they're telling a story through the music, but just as a music listener, I'm like, I don't really know what the story is. Like I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't know like where we are, who the characters are. It
seems
just
like a
sounds
lot
like
of work to
music.
listen to something.
Yeah, there's like a lot of albums like that where they say it's a concept album. It's a story, and I'm like, this just sounds like a collection of songs, and they're not bad, but I don't know what the story's supposed to be.
Yeah, you can't actually follow the story.
Yeah, yeah. I've talked at length about my appreciation for Coheed and Cambria, both of them, and yeah, and so like their whole career, they're like every one of their albums except for one is all like a
It's all
concept
themed, right? They're like all themed.
discography. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
Star Wars thing. It's all like some intergalactic space thing called the Amory Wars. And I only know this because I looked it up. I was like, "What's this band's deal?" And I read something that's all like a concept thing, and I was like, "I'm not getting any of that from these songs. I don't know, like
Do they
how I'm
have someone
supposed to."
doing vocals, or is it just music?
Yeah, no, it's what's the guy's name? Claudio Sanchez on vocals.
No,
He's
no, not
vocals.
Coheed and Cambria, the transatlantic
Oh, the
Siberia, whatever. Yeah,
Transatlantic Symphony.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, they do have songs with vocals. Yeah, they
What
do
kind
have
of
some
like
songs.
what kind of vocals is it? That kind of tripping me out.
Like
Like
Genesis
opera?
y, almost like Genesis y, Jethro Tull y, sort of
Oh,
like
okay.
prog rock vocals,
All
Emerson,
right.
Lake and Palmer type, like like good white man rock and roll
Yeah.
singing.
Like what? Like rock from Kansas or something, like
Yeah, it's just like that kind of. I don't know how to describe it. There's like a type of rock music that's like, I guess you would call it prog rock, or
yeah,
like
I think you're right on that. I think you might be
yeah,
right.
like the band Yes, where it's like
Yeah.
similar to like that kind of singing,
Okay.
where
Well,
it's a
that
very
kind of makes sense.
it's very much like a specific taste in music you gotta have
Yeah, that
to
definitely
appreciate.
seems like you got to really be going down a specific path to want to be listening to that.
Yeah, and it's like that band, the Transatlantic Symphony. I wouldn't listen to them any other time of year but Christmas. I'm just gonna listen to Christmas music. It's not a band where I want to seek out their deep cuts. Where I'm like, yeah, I really love their music. Now there are some dorky bands like that I really do like. You know, like I just mentioned, the band Yes,
Mhm.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer's cool. Um, Coheed, obviously. So I do enjoy some like virgin music, but that's a bit too much for me. The Christmas band.
Yeah, that's definitely that seems like a very seasonal type of something you might listen to.
Yes, that's true. I should capitalize on the untapped Easter music market.
Actually, it's true. Like I feel like a lot of the other holidays don't get a lot of representation. Like the
Yeah.
4th of July is just all country. I'm sure country's covered that, but
Yeah, and
like
when you think about it, Easter is much more important. It's much more like
the
integral
only
to the like being a Christian than Christmas, because like Christmas, obviously the birth of the Messiah, very important.
yeah
But Easter is like the culmination of centuries of prophecy.
yeah
You know, that's like the fruit of all of everything in the Bible is the sacrifice of Jesus Christ and the resurrection for our sins. So it feels like Easter is like just a completely neglected market.
yeah.
You know,
Honestly, the only Easter song I can think of is that like I think it's like Gene Autry or something that
yeah, it's like here
hippity hoppity Easter's
Easter's
on
on
its
its
way.
way.
That's the
Yeah,
only
yeah. There's
one.
not there's not a lot of Easter songs, and then there's only like two Easter movies. There's that one with Joe Coy that came out in the summer of 2022, so didn't even come out in Easter time. And
Really, I've
then
never seen that.
yeah, there's like some Joe Coy movie where it's like Filipino Easter, and it's like his family meets at a Jollibee to eat spaghetti and ketchup, and then hijinks ensue. And then there's like another movie that I remember actually going to the theater to see, because I was in high school, and like some girl I thought I was on a date with said she wanted to go see it, and it was a movie with James Marston, who is like one of the best guys at acting with uh, co co-stars that don't exist. So it's like another pre Sonic the Hedgehog. He did a movie called Hop, where
Uh-huh.
it's like his adventures with the Easter Bunny, and the Easter Bunny is like a CG
Yeah, like
cartoon.
Roger Rabbit, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit or whatever.
But Who Framed Roger Rabbit is at least like the brilliance of that is it's like acknowledge that they're cartoon characters. So like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
humans and the cartoons are interacting with each other, like recognize that they're two distinct,
No, that was definitely the
separate.
first one that kind of made that genre of like you can like, the acknowledging that it's like there's two separate worlds and like, having
Yeah,
it, like,
there's that, but also like that movie at least like establishes like a delineation between the humans and the cartoons, and so
like they're like they're second class citizens or whatever.
yeah, but
Like,
it's just easier to accept that they're on screen together because they're like two different types of entities or something. I don't know. But like the CG movies like this, like Hop or even Sonic the Hedgehog, is
Mhm.
like there's like cartoons that the actors have to act with that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
see them and go, well, that's a cartoon character. But no one in the movie can say that they look like cartoons. They
Yeah,
just
they
have
have to act
to.
like it's real.
The reality in the movie is that this is like as real as anything. But for
Mhm.
us, it's like no, that's just like for him when he made this movie, that was like a tennis ball on the end of a stick, and then then
Yeah,
they
it's probably like a dude in a green suit or something, just so they
yeah
have
yeah yeah
like eyesight or whatever, like a line of sight or a dog or something.
yeah, and so it's like a different kind of like reality within the movie, whereas like Roger Rabbit, it fleshes out this whole world of humans and cartoons coexisting, whereas like a movie like Hop or Sonic the Hedgehog is like these are two different kinds of things that exist simultaneously, but the one that looks like a cartoon, no one will acknowledge that it looks like a cartoon. You as the audience just have to accept that to them it's not a cartoon.
Yeah, you just gotta accept that it's real for them.
What he sees in the Easter Bunny movie is just is an actual talking rabbit, but what we see is a cartoon talking rabbit, I
I see what
guess.
you're saying.
You know what I mean?
What would the theme of like your song be? Like, what would you kind of the you gonna go down the Easter Bunny? You gonna sing about eggs? Like, what would the theme of your Easter song be?
It's a good question. I suppose so there is sort of like a contrast with Easter, and it's been spoken about many times that like Easter is to acknowledge Christ's crucifixion and resurrection, right? But the way we celebrate it is with a almost a pagan esque ritual of like there's a rabbit that lays eggs, and then like you go look for eggs that have like candy and money inside of them, and it just seems like conflicting with like the story of Christ, the whole Easter Bunny thing. But that's for the kids.
Yeah, well, all the
So
all the religious characters really don't have anything to do with the religion. Like Santa doesn't really have anything to do with Jesus either. It's not
yeah,
really.
so it's like our culture as it exists now is sort of like an amalgamation of like pagan beliefs and like our own like religious scriptures that in text that we have, right? So it's like Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus, or whatever is like probably rooted in some sort of nature worship pagan. You got to put a tree in your house. That's very pagan. Easter's.
Yeah, well, they stole Christmas from the pagans, and they made it in December to steal it from them. Just that's
Right,
because they didn't actually. I think he was born in like the springtime or something like that. I think that's when they said they actually say, but they just moved it to the winter to steal the winter solstice, whatever the pagans had, to like hog up the holiday and make people choose because they were wanting to do both. A lot of them were trying to do Christian stuff and pagan stuff, so that was the church's way of like, no, you do either one or the other.
right. Yeah, the history of our like our religious how we practice our religions and everything we have here is I think when you get down to it is a lot of like um violence and bloodshed and authoritarianism, right?
Well, I mean, it's not the word that's the problem. It's the interpreters and the people that use it. How they that's usually the problem.
Right,
You
that's what
know.
I'm saying. Like just the powers that be kind of like
Yeah.
imposing upon everyone how it's to be done, right? And so then
Yeah.
you get to now where it's like there's a polar bear drinking a bottle of Coke every December, and we're like, I guess that's Christmas, It's a
Yeah.
polar
Yeah.
bear drinking a soda, and Santa gives him a thumbs up, and then flies
Well,
away with some reindeer to give sodas to the kids.
that's an
Um,
ingenious way of Coca-Cola getting people to recognize wintertime with them.
I associate. I mean, at this point, Santa is much more a Coca Cola
Yeah,
character
that's what I'm
than
saying. Yeah, I see
a
him on. He's
Christmas
there just with
character.
the yeah, like they've kind of co-opted it. It's genius. Like they've just figured out a way to just kind of steal it for their own means, which is genius.
We got another dab, by the way.
Oh,
$10
okay,
from
for sure. Yes,
Harley. Do
definitely.
yesterday's unread chats count? If so, dab time. Shout out Sumer Dog, Squeeze's dog. Shout out dogs. Oh hey Tony. So
What up, Drew? Woo!
we gotta get to this song here in a second. But I will say, if I was to do Easter music, and I have no musical ability, I'm sort of like Rick Rubin. I'm more of an ideas guy.
You know how the music should be.
Yeah, I just know what I
You
like.
got the ear for the sound.
Yeah, I just know what I like. I just know what sounds
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Because Rick Rubin, does he actually produce anything, or is
I
he
don't think he
just like?
does anything, man.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he does anything.
Yeah, his true talent is in con artistry because it sounds like he doesn't know how to do anything. He's just like, I just vibe, dude.
Yeah, he just was like, "Hey, this is good," and then they're like, "Rick said it was good." Like that was
Yeah.
pretty much the extent of him helping.
If I was to do like Easter music, so when I was a kid, I don't know if they still do this because I don't have cable, but I don't have like regular TV. But when I was a kid on Easter, for whatever reason, every Easter, on one of the local channels or so, there was always like this emphasis on like on TV. Some channel would air the movie The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, and I don't know why that's Old Testament, that's Jew, that's Jew Bible, that's the Jew Bible. But for some reason, that was an Easter movie when I was a kid, and it
It
wasn't
was,
until
yeah.
yeah, because it's like if you think about it, the only other Easter movie that was made, like if you're talking about like the actual crucifixion, was like the Last Temptation of Christ, the Scorsese movie, which you
Oh
can't,
yeah.
which was actually like protested by religious groups because it like humanized Christ too much. It was it's all about like his human temptations he experienced leading up to the crucifixion.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like it's too sinful, that movie. So you can't even acknowledge that as an Easter movie. So it's not until 2004 with the Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ that we get a proper good Christian Easter movie, right? An actual crucifixion movie, which it's a great movie.
I remember people were like taking their little kids to see that, like because
That
it
was
was like
crazy.
that was nuts. And I was like, I didn't really know. I was just whatever. And then I actually saw it, and I was like, people are bringing their kids to this. This is like a snuff film.
It's an R-rated movie, and I remember
Yeah, no,
like
but they were letting kids in anyways because because it was about
yeah,
Jesus. So
yeah,
they
there
would
was
let
this
whole
religious
families in.
fervor.
Yeah, so it was crazy. I saw a bunch of little kids in the theater when I went to see it, and I was
Yeah,
like, and then as it was going, I was like, this is crazy.
yeah, because I remember because 2004 I was a kid. I was probably like 11 or 12 at the time, and I remember my church youth group. We had like an outing as a youth group to go see it. It was very important to the church that we all go
You go
to the
see it, yeah.
theater to see Passion of the Christ. The box office was very important to the
It made a
the money.
shitload of money, right?
Oh yeah, I think the movie made plenty of money. It
I
didn't
think
do
Mel Gibson
any.
put up all the money himself because no one wanted to do it, and he ended up making like $1 billion in profit or something like that because
I
he
mean,
put.
it is. It's a so as a kid, I do remember going to see it and thinking like at the time like this is scary.
It was
A
crazy. It was a crazy
terrifying
ass
movie.
movie. They have like the devil like in like the cloak and like if you're a little kid, that's a scary ass movie. They're
Yeah,
beating the shit out
there's
of Jesus.
there's
Like
all these
like
like artistic flourishes that Mel Gibson uses to uh I guess like express like what I don't know what like that scene where the lady in black is holding a baby, but it's like a Vern Troyer.
yeah.
There's like a baby that looks at Jesus, and but it looks
It's like
like a
a
fucked up little guy.
yeah, it's like a demon baby or
Yeah, it's
something.
like a demon
Some of the
baby.
stuff you don't doesn't even get explained. They're just like, check it out. Like it's just weird
Yeah,
shit. Like and then
it's just these little it's the movie making artistic touches that he uses where it's like, well, this isn't in the Bible, but this suits the movie pretty well.
yeah.
And what does it symbolize? What's the metaphor? What's actually that's up to you to interpret. I guess. Well, I just remember the movie being like it's scary. It's like a scary movie, and it's extremely violent. Like that's a lot of
Yeah,
the
it's
horror of it.
it's crazy how violent it is.
Yeah, it's like a very gruesome movie. Like
And there's like zoom in slow motion shots, like it's like violence porn, like it's pretty crazy.
yeah, because yeah, when you get to the actual crucifixion, his execution, it's like leading up to them even nailing him to the cross. It's just this extended sequence of torture where
Yeah,
they're
it's just
like
straight
whipping
brutality.
him, yeah,
Yeah.
and just beating him, and and it's like every time the lash strikes his flesh, it's very like exaggerated in the movie, like it's
Yeah.
highlighted where it's like there's like the squelching sounds of flesh tearing, and the camera is very much like focused like on showing you the brutality of this, and then they actually do crucify him, and then
Yeah.
there's that whole sequence where they nail him up, and then he's asking for water, and then they give him vinegar, and then he finally dies, and then the scene that really stuck out to me is when they stab him with that spear. I just
Oh yeah,
remember it
yeah.
was almost like a Kurosawa stab where they stab him.
Yeah.
I just remember like blood like spraying out of him.
Yeah, it's sprayed out like a like a, almost like in like Sin City or something when
Yeah,
it, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, it was very like very much
What's
like
it?
a movie getting
Yeah, yeah, like
stabbed.
dramatic, like yeah, sprayed
Yeah,
everywhere. Like yeah, it was pretty. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, which is a cool touch. I don't know if that's actually how it happened. I know that like the origins of that in filmmaking are that that was actually a mishap. I believe it was in Seven Samurai or one of the Kurosawa movies where a character was supposed to bleed, but there was like some sort of error with the whatever the mechanism was that was supposed to drip the blood out to show the blood.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was like a tube or something filled with blood. Anyway, it didn't work properly, and it just sprayed blood everywhere. And so Kurosawa was like, "That actually looks awesome,"
Yeah, that
and
looks
so that
cool.
became like a standard in people getting stabbed and cut in movies. Was
Because
like
that's
that was
what
like
Kill
a
Bill was like
yeah,
paying homage to, right? Like
yeah, and then we also get that when they stab Jesus in the stomach in Passion of the Christ, is he sprays like a Kurosawa type of getting stabbed.
yeah,
So Mel Gibson is definitely you see his influences on screen, and he definitely has a deep appreciation, not just for the sacrifice that Jesus made to dying for all of our sins, but also film itself. He has a love for cinema, and I'm glad he's back. I'm glad that he's back making movies,
what
and
is he doing now?
I have no idea. I mean, the
Oh,
last
I
I
thought
heard
you.
was
Yeah,
he was part of like Trump's movie squad that's going to save Hollywood. It's like him and John. I think it was like who was it? It was like him and John Voight, and there was another guy that like Trump assembled. And I don't think this went anywhere. I haven't heard anything since then, but it was like a
yeah. No,
headline
I've never heard anything about that.
where it was like Trump was assembling a team of just like real ass dudes in entertainment who were gonna like save Hollywood, and it was just like three based dejected actors like who were kind of like derided by the public nowadays. It was Mel Gibson,
Yeah,
John Voight, and maybe it was like James Woods. Maybe
James.
it was
Yeah, probably James Woods. James Woods is like super conservative.
yeah.
Like
I
he's.
remember just thinking like, well, this sounds stupid, but if these three were in a movie together, that would be good.
I
These are
would
three
want to. I
very good.
would consider checking it out. It sounds like it has potential.
Yeah, like if there was a movie about whatever this weird scheme is, that's a good idea. This actually being a real thing that Trump wants to do is very stupid. Um,
Yeah. Well, he's just talking shit. I think he's talking shit like 90% of the time. I don't think he's just
oh
mouthing
yeah,
off.
I don't know
He's
what's
just
going.
talking shit. Like he's just that's his way of like misdirecting you. He's just talking so much shit. like you gotta like filter out what he actually like, the 1% or 10% he's actually gonna do because he's just
Yeah, I
talking
don't
shit.
even, I don't even get in all the politics. I get called a gay libtard idiot online plenty. It's just like, what good does it do me? So it's like I hope for the best. It's Easter. I focus on the Christ's sacrifice for our sins, and yeah, James Woods is a good actor. I didn't say he wasn't.
It's almost like
James
both
Woods.
sides are kind of the same, right?
When you think about it, both sides are kind of the same.
Mhm.
And James Woods he's an amazing actor. I mean, I've never honestly, I don't have that many criticisms of James Woods. Like he's an old guy and he has a lot of like Republican thoughts, which is like pretty standard for an old guy. Um, and everything I've seen him in, I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed him in
Oh,
every
he's been good. He's a good
yeah,
actor.
Videodrome, Hercules.
I'm able to separate the art from the artist. What I'm saying. Like if they're a good actor, I can respect that, even
Yeah,
if I think they're like a jerk off or whatever. For the most
yeah,
part.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, I love James Woods, and I love John Voight, and I love Mel Gibson. So that's quite the trio to save Hollywood. But oh yeah, we gotta do the song here. So Twilight Elio, that's great. Frozen pizza,
Elio.
Elios. That's regional though. I don't think.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, we
I've
didn't
never
really
even heard of
have
that.
that where I was growing up. It was a lot of Red Barons and
Yeah, we have
Totino's.
Red Baron,
Yeah,
Tombstone,
Tombstone, Tony's.
Tony's. Yeah,
Um, yeah, DiGiorno.
DiGiorno definitely.
Yeah, Elio's. I think is like a Northeast frozen pizza.
Didn't they used to sell like pizza crust like by itself, and then you were supposed to make it yourself, like
um,
Boboli, or
I don't
was it
know.
Boboli?
I
I don't
did
know.
that.
Like I do
I,
remember something like that.
I've done that a couple of times where
Mine never came out right.
Chef Boyardee makes a kit like that where you just like it's almost like cake mix where you just like mix water with like the bag of powder they give you, and so that makes your dough, and then you
Hmm.
put your sauce and cheese and pepperonis on it, and then cook it in the oven at like 400 for 12 minutes because it's like a smaller, it's like maybe an 8-inch pizza,
Oh,
and
okay,
then
it's
it
like a
just
personal pizza
sucks.
or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah,
a bad pizza. It's
yeah,
not
for
that good.
sure. Yeah, you gotta know what you're doing when you're making pizza.
I mean, it's a Chef Boyardee, so it's like
Well, yeah,
it's
it's
not.
never gonna be good. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not shooting for the stars if you're getting Chef Boyardee.
yeah, it just looked like a fun thing to try with the couple times I did it, but I was like, yeah, we should probably just get a red beer, and here it's $5.
Yeah, I haven't
Um,
gotten a frozen pizza in a while, and I walked by the aisle, and they're like 12, $13
it's
now
not
for a
even
frozen
worth it
pizza. I'm
now.
like, what the hell? I could buy a regular pizza for that much and have
A
them make it
little,
for me.
a Little Caesars hot and ready is $5,
Yeah, so I'm
and
like, that's
then
crazy and it's not even that good of a pizza for $12. I'm like, that's wild.
yeah, and if Pizza Hut has a good promo going,
Yeah,
you
you
could
can
get
get
a
like a
large.
pizza, yeah, for sure.
You can get a large pizza for around the same price,
Yeah,
maybe a
that's why
couple
it's
dollars
crazy.
more.
I'm like, who's paying this? The only thing I could think of is for people on food stamps
Yeah,
because
I don't.
they can't
Yes, if
buy
you're on Snap,
you
you
can't buy
can't
hot food.
you can't use your Snap card to get Papa John's, but you can
No,
use
no,
it to get a DiGiorno.
that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah,
Because
because
who would know?
I'm with you. I was looking at frozen pizzas the other day, and I was like, yeah, I'll just go to Pizza Hut. This is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I saw. I was like, what? These are because I thought, oh, I grab a couple for like $5, $10. And then I'm like, dude, they're like $12 each. I'm like, and these aren't even that big.
Dude, when
Like,
I was a kid, a Totino's party pizza was $1.
yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure.
at the
They used to be really
most,
cheap. The frozen
yeah, it was
pizzas were like
usually
$5.
a Totino's party pizza. I think was like if it was on special, you could get like 4 for $3. So you had to buy four, but it was $3 for four. Dude, now they're like $2.25 each, and I'm like, well, the whole reason I'm buying this is because it's extremely cheap.
Yeah, because it's cheap and it's garbage. It's just cheap stuff to fill you. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, this country's been going to hell in a handbasket for a minute now. Anyway, so we got song requests. So let's all, we're gonna kick back and do a little corn-fed radio here.
for sure.
This is the Twilight by the Electric Light Orchestra. So here we go. Corn-fed radio 148.8. KNIGG. The chirp.
The chirp on me as it went. That was actually pretty cool.
That was good.
That was like that band's Bohemian Rhapsody. Like,
yeah, that was a long. Well, I mean, yeah, that band usually has like some long, intricate, complex compositions.
I thought it ended like 2 or 3 times, and then they just switched it up.
Yeah, I love music like that. I love songs. I like songs, and I like it when a song is just like 16 minutes long.
Take you on a journey.
Yeah, dude. I love a good 20-minute knee slapper. Which I mean is true. It's just like it's not music you can like put on when you're hanging out with anybody. But like when I'm on my when I'm by myself and I want to listen to some music, I've listened to plenty of songs that are very, very long. So I enjoy that kind of thing. And oh yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So yeah, if I'm doing any Easter music, I would do it would be like a 3-part rock epic concept rock opera. And so going back to like what I was saying, like when I was a kid on TV, they would every Easter they do the 10 Commandments. So the first part would be all about like Moses and the Jews in the desert and the 10 Commandments. So it kind of has nothing to do with Easter, the first part really. But it's this is sort of like the prelude, the prologue. We're setting it up with the Jews and the 10 Commandments, and leading them out of the the Exodus,
Yeah.
and Odd World Abe's Exodus, and then you know what? Hey Tony, go ahead and do a dab for this one. $10.
All right, here we go.
XTC Easter Theater. Hell, dude, we're doing all the getting the pussy dry music. Yeah, I would do. I would start with like an hour and 20-minute album about the Moses and the 10 Commandments. Second part would be all about like the life of Jesus Christ and the 12 apostles and the crucifixion and resurrection. And then so it would be like the actual story of Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the third part would be establishing what would become Christianity. So like the couple weeks, like the book of Acts, so like when Christ resurrected, when he came back, he didn't immediately just like float up into heaven. He like spent some time with the apostles to tell them to give them instruction and say like, okay, so we're gonna supersede Judaism. Judaism's done, and we're gonna do Christianity now. And he said, so I'm gonna tell you here's how Christianity's gonna go, and then on my signal, you'll go out and teach everyone how to be Christian. And we're like, what? So what? When do we know what to do? And he'll be like, you'll know. And then he floated into heaven. And then one day the Jews and then the apostles and everybody were like at a church, and then everybody like a breeze blew in, and everybody started speaking in tongues, and people from multiple places who spoke different languages all were like communicating with each other, and so that was like the signal to the apostles. It's like, okay, now it's time to go to tell everyone the gospels and start doing Christianity. So that would be like the third part of the Easter rock opera epic concept, which is like the resurrection and the Book of Acts, and then like focusing mainly on the remaining apostles as they travel out from Judea into the surrounding area and start Christianity. So that would be kind of what the Easter music is all about, and then maybe an epilogue about like rabbits and chocolate.
Like a
And
Meatloaf style, like
yes,
album.
yes, like a Bat Out of Hell,
Yeah.
but it's the story of Easter. It's like Easter Part 1, Easter Book 1, Chapter 1, Prologue, Part 1, the Moses, and then Easter Book 1, Chapter 2, Part 2, Jesus, and then Easter Book 1, Chapter 3, Part 3, um, the Gospels, and then epilogue, the Easter Bunny. So that would it would be like a 3-part with an epilogue. Would That would be my Easter music. And and like I said, that's a mostly untapped market. So I mean, this is money we're talking about, dude.
Yeah, I agree. There's like no one doing this.
Yeah, I gotta like learn. I mean, I can play a little guitar and some trumpet. I played
To be
trumpet.
honest, I think with AI now, you can even make AI like have guitar riffs and do all this stuff for you, and you don't have to learn anything.
Yeah,
You can just really grift your way into it.
yeah,
That's
that's
the best
true.
way. Learn nothing and make all the money.
Someone wants to know if I actually appreciate Christianity. I don't know what that means. I mean, I read the Bible, and I suppose I believe to some degree. I mean, I don't know. There's still doubt. Like with anybody, but do I appreciate Christianity? I'm not. I don't know if I'm actually religious. I mean, I don't know. I'll read my Bible, and I do find meaning in it, but I think like wherever anyone finds meaning is valid. I guess except for Harry Potter now, because she's mean. She she's mean lady now.
So no more Hogwarts for anyone.
No more Hogwarts. Which actually, that is a condition that you can get after you get your trans vagina installed. You could come down with a bad case of the Hogwarts
Hogwarts.
inside of your vagina that's also part of your rectum. Let's see. So we have another song request: XTC Easter Theater. Oh, and today's also WrestleMania. So yeah, I was never a wrestling guy. I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z as a kid, and I played a lot of video games, and I never got too into wrestling, actually. And I was actually kind of surprised when as an adult, the amount of fellow adults who are still into wrestling.
Yeah, there's surprisingly a lot amount of people. Yeah, like I used to be into wrestling when I was a little kid, like the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior era of
Yeah,
wrestling, and then I kind of fell out of it, and then I came back a little bit during like the Stone Cold Steve Austin era
yeah.
when I was like in high
I
school.
remember like when I was in high school, wrestling had these sort of reputation of like it was almost like embarrassing, or it was like for disabled people. Like I remember like every kid in my high school that had like real autism, where they were just like messed up, uh like that, not the autism people have now, where they're just like I don't know, they're anxious
I
around
like
it.
trains.
Yeah, train autism is just that she's like, you just have a specialty. You're just good at
Yeah,
liking trains. When I was a kid, there was like autism was like, oh, he's like never gonna be able to
can't
like,
talk. Like, yeah,
yeah,
they're never gonna
this is
talk.
a guy
Like,
who will never be able to like live without a handler.
yeah,
And
like
I remember all those kids wore oversized John Cena t-shirts. And so that was like what wrestling was to me. And then as an adult, I started meeting more and more people who were into wrestling. And I was like, I guess I was wrong, but also it's still not for me. Like they would invite me over to like get-togethers and parties where they would like, wrestling was like the thing that everybody was there for, and I would watch it, and I just would like the actual wrestling. I was like, this is cool, but most of it I was bored to tears because it's so much of like, the I guess the story of it, just like the guys talking into the microphone and doing the back
Yeah.
and forth. And
Well,
then
I
my
guess
friends,
that's the pageantry of it, really. It's
yeah, and my friends would always, and they would always be like, "No, this is like what it's all about. It's like it's theater, it's the story." And I'm like, "We have TV shows.
it is
Like
basically
there's
like it's
so
just a
many
TV show.
TV, yeah."
Yeah.
But I was like, "There's so many TV shows that are written better than this and perform better. There's like 1,000 shows where it's like not this, where
Yeah,
you
when
get
I
to
was a
watch
kid,
it."
it was still that oh,
Oh, cat.
that's what it is. I was like, what is that? That's my cat.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
sure he wants to check out what's going on.
yeah, not to disparage. If you like wrestling, that's cool. It's not really my thing, and like so many people have tried to get me into it over the years, and it's like I can assure you, the actual wrestling, the few minutes when they're actually like doing wrestling on each other, that's cool. The
Yeah.
rest of it, I'm bored out of my mind. So I guess I'm not like an actual wrestling appreciator in that regard. Um, and then then we have another $10 from Little Goblin Fella. The lack of religious music on this most holy day offends me. Veggie Tales, God of Second Chances. Yep, we'll cue that up. And then $8.88 from Darren Bianco. Leuven Brothers, The Christian Life. Then was there another one that came through? Oh yeah, this $5 from Gimp Gladly. Before those, Slam Bamboo, House on Fire, plays live version. Lincoln Reply, watch closely, don't give it away. Okay.
Oh, I
Well,
see
we
in
got
the
to get to
chat
the.
they're talking about asking about my cat and stuff. I'm not. I'm an animal guy. I got all kinds of animals. I got cats and dogs and shit. So
Oh yeah,
they might
animals
just
are
pop in.
cool. Shout out dogs. Shout out cats.
Yeah, I got
But we
dogs
got
and cats.
the next request in the queue for Corn Fed
Yep.
Radio is XTC. Yeah, go ahead and hit that dab. Get your butane going. Whatever science you got to do. XTC Easter Theater. Is the next one. So we'll do that's from One Reflection Canada 90. I guess it's one of these. Oh, I guess it is an actual. I guess this is an Easter music. Okay, well this is exciting. I haven't listened. I know of XTC. I haven't listened to too much of their music. In fact, I've listened to the 2 songs that Primus covered, which is Scissor Man and Making Plans for Nigel. So I've actually listened to Primus, not XTC. Anyway, this is Easter Theater by XTC. I'm not ignoring your super chat, Gimp, gladly. I'm actually getting around to the super chats, and yours is coming up. But first, we got to do One Reflection Canada 90 XTC Easter Theater. This is Cornfed Radio 148.8.
Gold sun rolls around, chocolate nipple brown, tumble from your arms like the ground your breasts swell and awake from sleep. Hairs will kick and leap, flowers climb erect, smiling from the moist kiss of her rainbow mind. Stage, enter Easter and she's dressed in yo-yo. Stage, now the sun is bright, the Father can't be born. Stand, if we don't breathe in and blow away the storm, we don't want a new life. street leads for you and me, splashing on the land, gambling with spring step, buds will laugh and burst, racing to be first, turning on the soil as the pumper's fingers through her spinning screen. Stage enter Easter and she's dressed in yo-yo. Stage now the sun has died, the father can be born. Stand up. If we don't breathe in and blow away the snow, we don't know the new life. Easter in her body. Easter in her Stage enter Easter egg, she's dressed in yo-yos. Now the sun's died, the father can be born. If we don't breathe in and blow away the smoke, hey, enter Easter egg, she's dressed in yo-yos. Now the sun has died, the father can be born. If we don't breathe in and blow away the smoke in her bones. Easter
Sorry about that.
Oh my god.
That's pretty cool. It's very in depth, like just like the other song, very in depth.
You know the song sound like? It sound like every vagina in the world slamming shut.
Definitely, that's not the chick magnet song.
Dude, I bet those concerts are just a bunch of dudes who smell bad.
It's the same audience that like black metal has.
Yeah, dude, that was very much just like lonely dude music, which I can appreciate, but that's definitely not something I would ever. I'd be mortified if a woman heard me listening to that.
Yeah, that's more like a driving by yourself in your car or something,
Yeah,
you know.
which is not fair because it's like, women listen to like Brat and
Yeah, they listen to some crap too, so I get it.
women just get to listen to like
Whatever, yeah.
horse shit they enjoy. And because we're also like, our goal, all of our goal for everything is like to get pussy. It's just like, yeah, keep listening to Brat, keep listening to Dochi or whatever y'all are into now. Music girls like.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. They have a free pass to like whatever garbage, but we get like looked down upon, sort of.
Yeah, we have to. We're
maybe not as
shamed.
much as we think. I think it's might be more in our head that of the shame. Like people are they think that because that it's kind of weird a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a few times when I've like shown girls like the music I like, and they just are very politely just are like, mm-hmm, and then they never talk to me again. um,
I
and the
can't remember
next
what
is,
movie it was, but the guy, like the girls are listening to some like weird music, like an '80s movie, and the guy puts on like the Talking Heads, and he's like super into it, and then everyone's just looking at him like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" They're like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
oh
And they're
yeah,
like, I
I feel
can't
like
remember what movie that was.
girls do like Talking Heads at least. That does seem like a good. There's a cross section of people that enjoy that, and then let's see. The next request says Slam Bamboo House on Fire. Play this live version. Lincoln Reply. Watch closely. Don't give it away. Lincoln Reply. What does that mean? Which one am I supposed to play? Are there replies to the chats? I don't see a reply. I'll figure it out. I'll just search live. If it's not the right one, whoops. I did want to touch on something. So I took a dump earlier today. And like many that I've taken in my life, I think I hopped off the toilet too soon. You know, I took a dump, I wiped, and I pulled my britches up,
You have to go again.
and then I went back to doing whatever I was doing, and then sometime later I realized I have not, I did not effectively wipe. I got off too early. I didn't do the full cleanup that I should have done. You know that feeling when
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, I get it.
it starts getting real. You start getting a real bad itch. You know the feeling of I guess shit caked in your ass is what can happen.
That's the feeling right there.
Yeah, that feeling. And so then, I don't know if you've ever done this, Tony, or if anybody can relate to this. I've had to do this a lot, where I had to go to back to the bathroom later just to do like a corrective wipe. I had to
It
go to the
happens sometimes.
bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom just to wipe. Where I was like, I gotta come back, return, and do a cleanup job. I gotta fix the mistake I made. And so I went back to the bathroom for just a wipe, and it was pretty astounding because I started wiping, and I was like, did I do anything the first time? There was still so much to wipe. And I was just like, what did I even accomplish the first go around? It's like I didn't wipe it all the first time.
I think it's just
So
when you started moving around again, it like loosed up whatever was left on that you didn't get in
yeah,
there really
it was
deep. So
crazy how
yeah.
much doo doo was still there, and then I just ruined another pair of britches. That's another market is like shit resistant britches
Was
for,
that in
for the
like Harold and
careless
Kumar
wiper.
when the guy wiped his ass with a piece of paper and then they're like, "Why is there so much shit in your ass?" And he's like, "Hey, shut
Yeah,
up."
yeah. It's just like for the careless wiper, shit stain resistant britches. Where even if
Like
you like
scotch guarded underwear.
yeah, like even if you fucked up wiping the first time, you
I
still
think
won't
fabrics
get.
almost. I think there's so many different new fabrics. I think something might come along like that.
Yeah, or at least like some kind of britches that's like it doesn't stain, like where it just like when you put Rain-X on your windshield.
Maybe it just like slides off of it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
It's like
the shit just slides out of your
shoots
britches.
down your leg.
Yeah, yeah, it just slides right off and rolls down your pant leg. Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about.
That's the answer, Dalton. You found it.
Yep. Uh, so we have a couple more requests, and then we might. I mean, it's already. I don't
Yeah, I
want
was
to
gonna
say.
tell you I got to get going pretty soon.
Yeah, no, yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I had
whenever you
fun.
need to hop out of here, yeah, feel free to just jump ship.
Okay, for sure.
It's I'll be fine. I'll be okay.
No, I know you will, Dalton. I know you can just riff. Yeah,
Uh,
I just came to take the dabs for you to get you some extra donos.
well, thank you. Yeah, I was about to say, this will be a short one. We'll wrap it up soon, but this has already been almost 2 hours. So I think people have gotten their money's worth. The stream itself was free, but hit the super chats if you want to make it
Yeah,
not
for sure.
free. I don't know
Get
what
some
the
super chats, guys.
the version of this I'm supposed to play is. But I think I found it. Maybe. I think this is it because he said it's a live version that has something that is like an Easter egg, perhaps. But I don't know. Let me see. House on Fire. Why are you giving me homework, dude?
Gotta do all kinds of research and shit.
Yeah. I think
Dive
this
deep
is
into the YouTube.
it. Okay. Well, I don't. Shit, man. Well, okay. Well, yeah. Here we go. Cornfed Radio. The title of the video gives away like whatever it was he wanted to make a surprise.
All right.
But here we go.
All right, somebody's at my door. I gotta get going, Dalton. I'll see you guys. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you guys later.
Yes. Take it easy, Token Tony. Thank you again.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Friend of the show, Token Tony. Check him out. Find him on the internet. He does good artwork. Anyway, so we'll do a couple more. We'll do the requests, and then we'll get out of here, and everybody can go back to enjoying their WrestleMania Easter 420. So this is a Slam Bamboo House on Fire. This is Cornfed Radio 148.8 KNIGG the Nig.
Welcome, Slam Bamboo.
Waking up to you. It's so nice. Waking up to you. It's so nice. Waking up to you.
Yeah, I can only hear this in my left headphone. Whoa, there he is.
I can see you and me as one. I can feel love has just begun. Watching you sleep as I fix on my head to be with you. My desire burning like a house on fire to be with you. My desire burning like a house on fire to be with you. My desire burning like a house on fire. burning like a house on fire. To be with you, my desire, burning like a house on fire. Like a house on fire.
Well, it's a good thing Trent Reznor got on up out of that band. He definitely stood out. Should not have been there. But was instantly recognizable. I saw him and I said, "Oh, there he is. That's old Trent." But yeah, he did not belong there. But there's a little some of that on Pretty Hate Machine though. That album does have some like, I guess, like 80s pop sounds in it. So I could see why he might have I don't know. He was very much of his time at that time now. And then he came into his own later, I guess. I don't know. I'm not Fantano, so I don't know what I'm talking about. And then we have, here we go. This is good Easter music. Veggie Tales, God of Second Chances. What a fun show we do here where everybody gets to listen to music through the StreamYard EQ. So it doesn't sound that good to everyone except me because it just comes straight into my headphones. So it sounds great on my end. I gotta figure out, I guess, like Streamlabs or OBS or some kind of software like that. But this is just like simple doing it this way. Which one is it? It's one of these. I think this is it. Here we go. I never watched any of this growing up. I would see commercials for VeggieTales. I was always like, this is ridiculous. But here we go. This is God of Second Chances by VeggieTales. Happy Easter, everybody. He is risen.
You're feeling pretty blue. You didn't do what God requested. Oh, yeah, I'll be moving too. If I was gonna be digested, this ain't a pretty picture, no. I said it ain't a pretty sight, no. You ran from God this morning, and you're well tonight.
Now let me just say something right now that these veggie characters, I don't think I need to say why, should be collard greens.
Not so fast, your life ain't over yet. See, we're here to tell you all about a forgiveness that you can get. You see, God's got a mercy, God's got a love. Right now he's gonna lend a helping hand from up above. Praise the Lord, he's a God of second chances. You'll be floored how his love your life has. You can be restored from your darkest circumstances. Our God is a God of second chances. Ain't it good to know a God who gives a second chance? We just enough to get a smile from Mr. Grumpy Pants. So if you say you're sorry,
What vegetable was that supposed to be?
know that he'll be ready with a second chance for you. Praise the Lord, he's the God of second chances. You'll be floored how his love your life enhances. You can be restored from your darkest circumstances. Our God is a God of second chances. Our God is a God. If you believe God's love is true, then you should know what you should do. should know what you should do. If you believe God's love is true, then you should know what you should do. If you believe God's love is true, then you should know what you should do.
That's not a vegetable.
Second chance, second chance, second chance, second chance. Praise the Lord, He's the God of second chance. You'll be flooring your stars. God is circumstances. God is a God. Second chances, second chances. Lord, He is a God of second chances. You'll be flooring your stars. God is circumstances. God is a God. If you believe God's love is true, then you should know what you should do. If you believe God's love is true, then you should know what you should do. Second chance, second chance, praise the Lord, He's the God of second chances. You'll be pouring your stars. God is circumstances. God is a God.
This is scary. And oh, okay. Yeah, it is scary because it brings to my mind, there's just so many questions. Like, so first off, it looked like the Arabian character, I guess in the world of VeggieTales, like, the Christians are all vegetables, and then I guess like the Muslims are bugs. Like the character with the turban there was like some kind of caterpillar, some kind of creature, like a slug or something. And then there was a whale. So it's like in the world of VeggieTales, like the predominant species is vegetables, but then there's still like this, I guess, like a similar animal kingdom that we have, where there's like whales. And so it's like an alternate reality where when well, I guess since it's Christian, I can't really say this, but let's just say like the evolutionary trajectory of like life, rather than simians evolving into eventually humans, it was like vegetables evolved into like intelligent life that also had had the same like history as us, as far as like the same like Christianity, like religious like they still establish like all the same religions, but they're vegetables. And so like, but our Bible says that God made us in his image. So in their reality, when they think of God, he's like a giant, like a big cucumber in the sky. Like the sort of like a vision we have of God, that's like how we can conceptualize God. I know this isn't exactly what God is, but the sort of like a universal image of God that we have is like big man in the sky, isn't it, with a beard? But in VeggieTales, they think of like a big cucumber in the sky with a beard. So it's like an Earth that is like experienced, I guess, like the same, yeah, this I guess like the same trajectory as we have, but the species that became like the predominant life form is vegetables. It's very scary when you really stop to consider like the implications thereof. It kind of reminds me of and I thought this movie was grotesque, and I hated it. That movie, Sausage Party. I found that really disturbing. I much more appreciate VeggieTales. So, but it does kind of invoke a similar. It does remind me of that movie a little bit, but that movie is an atrocity, an affront unto God, actually. Whereas VeggieTales at least celebrates God and Jesus in the scripture. And in that, I guess in that movie there were also humans in VeggieTales. So in VeggieTales, there's no humans. It's just vegetables. From what I've seen, vegetables and bugs and a whale. But then I haven't seen like any other VeggieTales. But I might get into it now. But it is just like frightening to, you know, really think of like the implications of the world of VeggieTales. You know, like what is life like for for vegetables? Okay. And then we have one more request. Leuven Brothers, The Christian Life. Folks, you got to tune in live for this stuff because there's a lot of times YouTube will make me just like cut things out after the fact. Because like, so, I mean, nothing. There's no chance of any of this getting monetized anyway. But then sometimes they even take it a step further where they just will like block the video where you can't even watch it when it's up as a recording. And so like when that happens, I gotta cut out like whatever it is that caused it to get blocked. So you gotta tune in live to watch me listen to a song. So the Leuven Brothers, The Christian Life. This is Corn-Fed Radio 148.8. Happy Easter, everyone. Oh, yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is Corn-Fed Radio 148.8 KENIGG, the chirp, the nig. I could say at least I could say half of the I shouldn't say it. Shouldn't say any of it. Happy Easter, everyone. This is The Christian Life by the Leuven Brothers, as requested by who requested this? It was Darren Bianco. Hey, Mambo, Darren Bianco. All right, here we go.
I like the Christian life. My buddies tell me that I should have waited. They say I'm missing a whole world of fun. But I am happy and I sing with pride. I like the Christian life. I won't lose a friend by heeding God's call. Or what is a friend who'd want you to fall? Others find pleasure in things I despise. I like the Christian life. My buddies shun me since I've turned to Jesus.
Oh, nice.
Happy
Easter, Troy.
Love them. They burden my heart. I'll try to lead them to walk in the light. I like the Christian life. I won't lose a friend by heeding found pleasure in things I despise. I like the Christian life.
Nice. That was good. That's good stuff. And yeah, that is a pretty cool, really cool album cover. I don't know why, as like a Christian duo, they would want to focus so much on Satan. And that also Satan is real would also just be, I feel like a metal band would also, for a different reason, have an album called that. That was always like going to church. There was always, and then, I guess this is the thing that probably bothers a lot of people about going to church and religion and all that is the damnation. Because it's like going to church, there's always like this like sinister undercurrent to just everything. Like you go to church and then like my church, there was like a band that would play contemporary Christian rock music for like an hour before the sermon. So there's like a couple guys with some acoustic guitars, a drummer with one of them kits where there's like the plexiglass cage around it. And then, a bass player, and then maybe a woodwind. They would do that, and it was all very uplifting, spiritual music. There's a black lady, with the hands up in the pews. And then the pastor would come out, and we'd do a prayer, and he would deliver a sermon that's meant to, enlighten us and uplift us and empower us with the God's grace and glory. But then, like, with that, there's just this constant undercurrent, and sometimes this is even made overt that if you stray from any of this, or if you don't seek forgiveness in the right way, or I don't know, like the rules were always kind of murky. It's like playing Monopoly, right? You never know like what the actual rules are. If you do it wrong, when you die, you will experience an eternity, which you can't even like understand. There's no like conception in our mind. Wittgenstein writes about this, that we have no way to, given the finite nature of human thought, no way to really conceive of death and the eternal in any like in any real way. Like any attempt that's made to try and understand it or even think about it is futile and doesn't it does not behoove one to even try and like think about it too much. And so Wittgenstein had this idea of like there's an ever expanding limit to human thought. So there is like a sort of like in math how they teach you about like infinities, like how there's like the parabolas and asymptotes, and on one side is one infinity and the other side's another infinity, right? And so like Wittgenstein talked about how like when it comes to human thought, there's like the infinite capabilities of human thought, that which we can actually think about and conceive of and articulate and communicate with each other. And then there's like everything that exists outside of that, which would be like death and the afterlife and eternity, and just like everything that's like we're just incapable of in any real way thinking about and conceiving and communicating with each other. And so like religion and Christianity, through story and mythology, or just like the dogma of the religion itself, does express to us that when you die, there's one of two things that's going to happen. What's definitely going to happen, you're going to be judged by God. And then from there, you'll either be granted access to the kingdom of heaven, or you'll spend eternity in hell, where it's hot, it's fire, and there's demons, and they're all going to hurt you forever. But even heaven is also forever, and so there are modes of thought that would say heaven itself is a kind of hell. That to experience an eternity in any way would eventually become a kind of suffering. So there is just this knowing with that, say, thinking about that, there's just this like sinister undercurrent to go like the religion, where it's, I guess, like no one really knows, no one knows what's going to happen. And so it's just through like threat of an eternity of the worst pain you can imagine that you behave accordingly. But then even the promise of heaven to those who behave the right way also seemed kind of like off to me, seemed odd when I was a kid, because the way it was always described is, I was like, well, that sounds like I remember one time asking my pastor, this was, I was very young, so this was probably pre 9/11. Just to put you in the moment in time and why I would ask this, I remember asking my pastor, "Is there a Nintendo 64 in heaven?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, yeah, like whatever you want." Mario Kart, Super Mario 64, Super Smash Brothers, it's all there. And I was like, all right, cool, man. Sounds great. But then, there was always like there was a conflicting messages that I would get, because then, like, as we moved around and went to other churches, I got a different message as to what heaven is, which was that, well, you wouldn't even want to play Nintendo 64, because when you in heaven, you'll spend eternity in the glory of God and worshiping God for all of eternity. And then I remember thinking at the time, which I couldn't say this to anybody because I get in trouble if I actually said this to any adults, that sounds boring. I would like it if there was Nintendo in heaven. I love worshiping God. Obviously, it's great, but it would be nice if from time to time I could play the Nintendo 64. We're going to be there a while, so it's like there's plenty of time to worship God. Can we make some time for Turok? But I never could get like a concrete answer on that. From It was always like differing views and opinions, and like, is there not Nintendo 64 in heaven, I guess, is one of the great questions that we ask ourselves. We have one last request, and we'll get out of here. Chuck Craft, set your fields on fire. $2 from Gimp gladly. Please subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/cornfed with Dalton Pruitt. And hey, also subscribe to the Patreon for the Crowder Boys, the other show I do with Robbie Goodwin and Crack Amico, patreon.com/Crowder Boys. And then, as far as if you're tuning in here, I guess it doesn't matter to you. I've had some people reach out about the audio feeds for these shows, and it's a skeleton crew around here. I gotta fix the audio feeds. So this one is way behind the corn-fed one, and then the Crowder Boys a little bit behind, but it's definitely something that even if there's like most of the audience is on YouTube, right? I suppose there should also be an RSS feed, because it is like predominantly an audio medium. There's some visual here and there for this, but it's pretty minimal, and I feel like a lot of like what all this is talk radio. It's been around forever, and this is just a further extension of that. So there should be an audio feed. I gotta fix it. I gotta update it. That's on me. Because I do it here, and then there's a process to get the file and make it audio and upload it. It's not that difficult, to be honest with you. I'm just lazy, and then it creates more work for myself later on because then I got to get like a bunch of files and organize them and then upload them. And I keep putting it off, and then people reach out to me and they say, "Hey, are you going to update the audio feed?" And it just keeps compounding on itself. And now I just have like, kind of a suffocating amount of work where I am like, just don't want to do it now because there's like too many files, but I should do it. And then if I just did it at on time as they happen, it wouldn't be an issue. But this is the story of my life. Same with dishes, same with doing homework, same with anything I've ever should have done. Just do it right away so it's not a problem for you. So that way it doesn't, and then it just becomes a bigger issue later on. And now I just have a sink full of dishes. That's such a big project that it's almost like debilitating. It's paralyzing how many dishes I have. And if I would just wash them as I get done eating, it would, it wouldn't even be an issue. There wouldn't be any dishes. Now there's so many dishes. I'm so lazy that I can't even wash my dishes, a plate and a spoon, and I just dump them in the sink. And then what do I think is going to happen? Is I'm the one that's here. I'm the only one that's doing this, that's eating and creating dirty dishes. And at some point, these are going to have to get washed. So then they just pile up, and now I got all these dishes, and so I got to fix the audio feed also. But we'll do this. So what is this? Chuck Craft, Set Your Fields on Fire. This is a corn-fed radio. 148.8. What is this? Is this it? Wait, who is this? This says this guy. This might be a nice little hidden gem because this has 530 views, and these are usually the best YouTube finds. So we'll see what this is, folks. This is "Set Your Fields on Fire" by Chuck Craft.
There's a call that rings from this throne, it springs to those now gone astray. Say, come ye men, from your load of sin there at the altar lay. Many do not heed that the chains of greed, that their conscience never tire. Be assured, my friend, if you sell offend, he will set your fields on fire. Now you don't from sin retire, he will set your fields on fire. You have heard Jesus call, and in death your soul must fall. Now my friend, if you desire, you may join the heavenly choir, and rejoice with him, free of every sin, when he sets this world on fire. You have heard his voice, seen his soul rejoice, that trusted in his grace. You have washed with sin as he knocked within, but still you hide your face from the blessed Lord and his own true word, but still you say retire. Leave the downward path, kindle not his wrath, or set your fields on fire. Now you don't from sin retire, he will set your fields on fire. You have heard Jesus call, and in death your soul must fall. Now my friend, if you desire, you may join the heavenly choir and rejoice with him, free of every sin, when he sets this world on fire. Now you don't from sin retire, he will set your fields on fire. You have heard Jesus call, and in death your soul must fall. Now my friend, if you desire, you may join the heavenly choir and rejoice with him, free of every sin, when he sets this world on fire.
Wow. That was beautiful. That was great. That's a great video. You know what? Subscribed. That's very good. A great message. And then to put a cap on everything, the chat wants to know what's the best video game console. I mean, it definitely would be. I don't know about I guess like the best time for video games was like just anything that's not like whatever's going on now, where every game requires you to stay connected to the internet, and they try to make it like I guess like a interconnected online experience where you also have to keep paying for things. But I guess like I don't really play video games too much these days. I guess I would like to, but I got like too many things I gotta fix in my own life. I guess like considering just like youth and what I have the most fondness for, probably would be PlayStation 2. That was the big one when I was a kid. There was a lot of good games for that. I was always like, I'm trying to think, like the games I always really enjoyed playing were like, I liked like RPG type game, like like games with big sprawling stories that you could sink like hundreds of hours into, and you could just like fight like ghouls and goblins for a long time and grind your characters out and level up. I always thought those were the best games. And so, I sunk a lot of time into Final Fantasy X and 7, which is a PlayStation 1 game. But you know what? I would say, honestly, probably my top 2 games ever, or no, top 3 games ever would be Chrono Trigger, which is a Super Nintendo game that I actually played on the Nintendo DS. But we'll just say Super Nintendo. So Chrono Trigger, Bloodborne, and Nier Automata. So I guess it would be, given that, it'd be a toss up between the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 4, just considering the games I consider like, like the high watermarks, the sort of like big accomplishments in gaming. So, but I probably, as a boy, what I'm saying, I get like what I'm saying is like as a boy, I probably spent the most time playing PlayStation 2. That had the biggest library of games, and that was one everybody had. Xbox had some cool stuff. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was awesome. Ninja Gaiden. What Blinks, the Time Sweepers. Xbox was not without its games, but it certainly was much more. There was just like Xbox was definitely like for Xbox people. PlayStation 2 was more of the people. It was more ubiquitous, I would say. I don't know. I don't know what the best one is. It's like whatever you want, whatever you think it is. I'm just saying like the best like video games I play, like my favorite, the ones I would consider like the best, the top games. Yeah, would be Chrono Trigger, Bloodborne, Nier Automata, and you know what? Also Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game. So the Nintendo Switch is pretty cool. So you know what? Which is like I guess like if as long as you're having fun, that's whatever the best is. But I do think they probably hit a plateau with it so far because the fidelity of games is like great. You know they look great visually, but a lot of games now are pretty boring. Nothing special, and it seems like people like where people are actually having fun is like with like something like Balatro, which is from what I've seen solitaire. I haven't played it. I've like avoided it because I've heard it's like really addicting, and I can't do it right now. It looks like something I would get addicted to. It looks fun. And it looks pretty like lo-fi. It's like a sprite looking solitaire game. So it's just, I guess it's like whatever you're into. I know it's like a roguelike card game or something. I got really into those. I remember I was just like spending hours just getting mad at my TV playing Enter the Gungeon. I just was sitting there for like 6-7 hours at a time, not getting anywhere, like not making any progress in this game, and then just being mad at my TV, just like screaming at the television. And eventually I had to delete it because I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this. It's too hard. And I can't seem to stop playing it. And so I just have to like just delete the game. So that's also fun. Yeah, but I don't play video games that much anymore. I did get to a point where it was like what I found myself like appreciating most in games was like story and characters and stuff. But then the game itself started to feel tedious to me. Like as a kid, I could spend hours and hours playing a game, and I just would never get tired of it. And then like as I've gotten older, it's like I'm like more invested in like story, and then I have to trudge through this game to get to do the story. And then I was like, I guess what I really like is like movies and books where I can get the story if I just engage with the work itself. Like I just put on a movie or start reading a book. I don't have to like develop I don't have to like develop a new skill set or figure out how to play it. I could just read a book. I guess there are some books that are like difficult, like I guess it's not difficult to read a book. Like you can sit there and look at the words and read each one, but some are like difficult to understand or interpret. Like I've read a couple of Thomas Pynchon's books where I was like, I don't even know. I technically read this book. I don't know what it was. I don't know what just happened. I don't know any of it. I don't know what any of that was. Almost 800 pages. I'm closing. I've read the last page, the last word in Gravity's Rainbow, and after all that, I was like, I don't know anything that just happened. I spent like the last like 2 months reading this. I have no clue what anything was in this book. But then you could open up a Harry Potter book and read that. That's pretty simple. So it just depends. And then this is Jay Dynas says he's trying to read Infinite Jest, which is like that's not a difficult book to understand or interpret. It's just long. It's just like a really long kind of like grinding book because it's super dense and it's a small font, and then there's endnotes with a smaller font. So it's just like a long book, but it's not like difficult to understand what it is you're reading. It's it's just like 1,200 pages, but also like dense pages. Like it is still pretty dense because it's like there's big ass books like that. Like I've read a couple Stephen King books, like The Stand and It, that are over 1,000 pages, which are like pretty breezy to get through, like page turners. It's genre fiction, right? But yeah, something like Infinite Jest, probably the way to do it is just like, yeah, I hate the fact that it's like, yeah, you have to give yourself homework. Like it starts to feel like work when you think about it this way. But if it's something you're trying to get through, just like tell yourself like 10 pages a day, and then eventually I'll be done reading this. Because I remember when I was reading it, I would start to like hit a wall where like after like a number of pages, I just was like, yeah, I don't need this is like so much. This is like too much to try and like read all at once. So you have to like just take like little bites of it at a time. But it's not incomprehensible like some other experimental works like Gravity's Rainbow, or I've never even tried to read Finnegan's Wake. I did read a really good book that's like an experimental kind of experimenting with the novel. It's a book written by a guy named David Markson, which I actually found out about this book from an essay by David Foster Wallace. And this is something I talked about earlier. It's a book called Wittgenstein's Mistress, and it's a book from the perspective of a woman. It's a first person perspective, and she may or may not be the last person on Earth. And so the quote, it's written in a way where it's just everything, like her experience and everything going through her mind, like in her mind, and it's ambiguous as to like, is what she's experiencing real or is she crazy? So it's cool. It's a cool. It's a fun little experimental book, but also, like you don't have to. I mean, just like whatever brings you joy, right? Who are you trying to impress? I think it's good to read. It's definitely like good to read books, but don't feel like. Well, actually, you know what? There are a lot of books that are a waste of time, and probably it would be better to just not even try and read them. Like when I go into a Barnes and Noble and it's like all this like fiction, this like fantasy fiction written by girls that's like I guess they call it romantasy now. That's probably that reminds me of like my aunt and my cousin. All the like girls in my family would have like shelves and shelves of Danielle Steele novels. So there's like back in the day that was like the version of what they have now, where it's like they were just like very like very much like junk food, mass consumer is quickly just written. Probably ghostwriters were working on them. I don't know. They were just like cheesy romance books. So they were like big, thick books, but it was like nothing to them. They were just like dumbass romance stories. So it's like now that's always they talk about this now like it's like a new thing. Like all the books now are. It's like no, that's always been a thing. There's always been like some version of that. It's just like now it's those books, but it's about like werewolves and pixies and fairies and shit. But at its core, it's the same Danielle Steele books that my aunt was always reading. So those are probably a waste of time. But there's a lot of genre fiction that's great. That's not a waste of time, and it's very easy to read. Some page turners. I'm a big fan of like noir. I like crime thrillers and mysteries. I like horror. I like sci-fi, and westerns are cool. And then, and then obviously I'm a college boy, so I spent like thousands of dollars. So I like literature. I like actual whatever, when you go to a bookstore and they have a section that just says literature, those kinds of books. I guess like there's genre fiction, there's literature, and then there's nonfiction. And there's some great nonfiction out there. I'm a big fan of like personal essays, memoirs are cool. I'm not going to read a memoir from a celebrity or a comedian. Actual memoirs, Harry Crews, Mary Carr, um, Joan Didion. Who's the other one? Whoever. But I'm not reading a comedian's memoir, except for Norm Macdonald's was good because that was actually a novel and not a memoir, and he wrote it himself, so that was a good one. And then and then I guess you have like history books and stuff like that. Those are cool too. So it's good to be well rounded and just like whatever catches your fancy. Go to the library. If I can look, Jesus died for our sins. It's Easter. That's important to remember. And also, your local library is open and it's free and available to you. And I know that the library nowadays has this reputation that's just for homeless people. If you live in a city, yeah, there's going to be homeless people there. It's one of the last remaining public services, so they got nowhere else to go. They used to have a place to go that was not the library. Now they don't. So it's like if you need to go to the bathroom or just have a roof over your head for a couple hours, you kind of only have the library. But it's also a very valuable resource to anybody that wants to use it. You can get a library card for free, and they got every book. And so go to the library, check out some books, and they're free. Just either return them on time or renew them. You can renew a checkout. You just have to make sure you at some point go back to the library to manage your the books you've checked out. Otherwise, you'll have to pay a late fee. You'll have to pay a fine, and that's how one of the ways that the library is able to maintain itself and operate as a public service. It's not just through taxpayer dollars; it's through late fees. So, no matter what you do, whenever you patronize your local library, it's good for you and it's good for the library. So, go to your local library. It's nice. It's cool. The libraries are cool. And so that's all I have to say. The two most important things I could tell you on this Easter is Jesus died for your sins, and your local library is open and available to you. So please subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/cornfed with Dalton Pruitt, and I'll fix the audio feed soon for those who need an audio feed. And then that's it for this one. Sal will be back at some point. So good night, everybody. Happy Easter. God bless you.